It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness.
Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music. And our featured patrons, Zipper Tiff, TWH Rider, Toe-Headed Mule, Team Steiny, Arnott Family, RCap Brain, S. Seiler, Terraviators, Coon and Bud, Motorima, and our new patrons, Team G Winchester, Oil Bear 125, Boo Boo _1, Kitty Catch, Finley and his Drudge, Seabeck Tribe, Shark C, Curious KDB, Gene Hunter, The Caching Jeeper, Fam Gustafson, B Mars 7391, Speed City, and welcoming back Curiosity Girl. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the new blackout coin. Wait. Yep. We're all trying to. Josh is looking for his. There it is. See it.
On the computer.
Oh, he's got both. He's got the green.
You know it. Ooh.
Check it out. There we go. Solo. I get you solo on that one. Sweet. That is awesome.
That was a very advanced Zoom feature you had there.
Right. Turn the laptop around. So smooth.
Very advanced. Yes. Other geocaching items during the year, bonus content, invites to special events. Obviously, we're doing our leaderboard, Geocache Talk leaderboard still going. It'll go until the end of October. And a lot of fun. It's fun hearing people talk about it. And I just want to stay in the top 100, barely.
Yeah,
it's making me feel like an inferior cacher.
Yes,
it should.
I went all the way to Brazil, found all these amazing caches, and I'm at 23.
That's okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, actually. Anyway, all right.
Let's see. What? Oh,
Yeah.
I've dropped since we started the show. I'm in 56th place now.
Wow.
That hurt.
That hurts. Sport level start at as little as Bison Tube level, which is $3 a month. Well, let me first.
Good evening. And I almost missed the beginning of the show because I was kind of just getting ready, and we have the music going, and I've gotten used to the music now, and it's I kind of start to like it, and I was totally drifting off on what we were doing. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
great. 10 seconds left.
So, anyways, yeah. So, well, 64 for September 1st. Can you believe it? It's September now. Oh my gosh, September 1st. As we welcome back to the show our good old friend Joshua, the geocaching vlogger. Welcome back.
Hello, thanks for having me back. I'm not wearing my Geocache Talk green jacket. You haven't sent it to me yet for being
I know
on
I need to.
on the show the most times. I don't know what number. I think this is like 8 or 9. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, you keep out distancing everybody because we'll have you on. And it's like there's another It's like you're like the oh gosh, who was the guy who was on Johnny Carson like all the time? I have to go back and look how many. There was some. I'm trying to think who was on there. He would have Don Rickles on. I know a lot.
Yeah, I think Don Rickles is the first person I thought of.
Yeah, but they'd have like massive amounts. So anyway,
you didn't think you were going to come on and get compared to Don Rickles, did you?
No, I wasn't expecting that. But hey, Don Rickles, that's good company right there.
There you go.
That guy was funny, and Josh was funny too sometimes. No,
sometimes.
So, real quick, I'm in a hotel in the middle of nowhere. No, I'm in actually northwest of San Antonio, actually, my hometown, and we've found 16 counties this time around, so we couldn't make it all the way home. We've got one more day of geocaching. In America, we have Labor Day, and so we get Monday off as a holiday. And so what better way to do that than to spend time geocaching? So, yeah.
And you are burning
Bob
all
Hope.
that challenge. You're destroying it.
Husker Medic. Yeah, Bob Hope. I think Bob Hope was on there a lot. Yes. Thanks for the memories.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's do a little bit of news because we got so much to talk about tonight. We've got a lot to cover. News-wise, I want to mention that the Geocache Talk video that we did, the summertime video, is up still. And the contest is open. We're going to give away a really cool geocoin to the winner. We're going to do a drawing. Mm-hmm. So put in your guess as to not how many times we said summer, how many summertime references. So if there's baseballs mentioned, that's sort of a summer reference. Fruit tends to be a summertime reference, those kind of things. So send in your guess, and we're going to cut off the contest this Friday at midnight, and then we'll pick a winner. Maybe we'll pick a couple winners possibly and send out a couple geocoins to the winners. So and go watch the video. I think it's a lot of fun. I think we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making it. I don't know about
I may have had some bloopers video that could not make the reel.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. All right. So what else do we want to talk about? Leadership board update. We've got.
Yeah, you want to show the board, and I know we'll have to kind of describe it, but.
Yeah, we'll show the board because
Wonky is still way up in the lead with his crazy trips that he's doing, but there's been some change in the top too.
There's been a little bit of change. Let me share that screen out.
Yeah. Hulu UC couldn't couldn't stand slipping behind, so he started grabbing some more too.
Yep. I'm way behind. 565.
I'm at I think 1,500 now.
1,500. That's good.
People are
EJK
really
PBR was way up there. Yeah.
I
mean, we've got
that is a lot of cash.
It is 58,000 points. He has in spare change is what we've got. 575. We got 565. Yeah, Holo UC, he's got 18,000. That's a lot. Anspire Crew over in Belgium, right up there. Eric was way up there. EGK PBR, ONKC, Peachy, and Oil Bear. Team D&D too. They're after it.
Yeah.
They might be old. They might be old and decrepit, but they're still going. No, I'm kidding. They're not that old. I'm kidding.
Even to break the top 10, you got to have over 8,000 points at this point.
Oh yeah, top 10. That's a ton. Like I said, I'm in the top 100. I like that, but there's a whole grouping down there. So, wow, it's fun. It's been fun. It's kind of neat. It's sort of a surreal experience. I know Jesse and I've talked about going to the geocaching website and seeing Geocache Talk on the geocaching website. I mean, it's just one of those kind of crazy things. But anyway, it's been fun. All right. Store, obviously, if you want to go to check out what we have. We've got a few items for sale. Always out there. There we go. The geocachetalk.com/store. We're still selling some shirts, the game, the card game, the glass. We still got a few of those.
Just a few, though.
And
this one right here.
Oh, look, that one right there is for sale. That glass right there, yeah. And the thing I think we need to kind of point out is that we bought a few items, and we're not really. This isn't really what we're mostly podcast with the network, and so we don't plan to like replenish all these different items with. We're not gonna So once they're gone, they're kind of gone. Those glasses were gifted to us, and so once we sell them, they're gone. So just not trying to pressure anybody to buying them, but I just want people to know up front that down the road, if you go, hey, we'd like to buy one of those, it's like they're gone. We only had 30 or whatever, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
So
those are limited.
Those are limited. Pretty much all the items on the store are limited because probably won't replace any of them. So, all right, let's get into and then almost time for going caching.
We need to take a quick poll. Who on the show is going to go in caching? Oh, look at that!
Wow,
oh, that's pretty good. Woo!
100%.
100%. So, Joshua, do you have the shirt?
Do I have a going caching shirt?
Yeah, the puzzle shirt.
No,
I didn't get the shirt.
I know.
Oh my God, it's got a puzzle on the back of it that I have not even come close to cracking any of.
Can you
They've been working hard on that.
Can you solve my shirt?
No, Cache Tour.
There's a puzzle. There's a puzzle in there somewhere.
There's a puzzle in there somewhere.
You gotta figure it out.
Bounce is going.
Nice.
Oh, people.
Peachy's going. Lots of people.
People are going.
But now of the three of us, one of us has to lead the actual parade.
That is right.
Right. Raise your hand if you're going to lead the parade. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's me.
It's that
leading
guy.
the parade.
That's awesome.
I'm going to show you. I'll show you just a portion of the costume. Ready? Ready? I'm just going to show you a portion of the costume.
All right.
That's it. That's all you're going to get.
Oh man, you barely saw it. That's not fair.
I'm such a tease. You have to go to Going Caching to see what I'll be wearing.
Yeah, that's cool. No, looking forward to it. I know this for me, it'll be just a pop in and pop out, but you guys will be there pretty early and
a few days.
That's cool. Few days, so that's good. I'm hoping maybe next year Susan and I can go for the whole thing. Maybe spend a little more time, but. timing is tough for some of those things. I mean, next year is going to be rough, and it is really Mingo Madness and all the different things that are going on. 20th anniversary, all that. It's next year is going to be a real juggle.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
More than this year. I don't know. Other than going caching now, Joshua, are you doing any? Are you going to go to the? You probably go to local stuff, right? Halloween hoopla, or
Yeah, it's possible. That's always my birthday weekend, so sometimes I'm
sometimes
traveling
you'll go
elsewhere. But yeah, it's likely that I might be at Halloween hoopla in St. Paul this year.
Yeah, not too far. Yeah, they're asking about Josh being at Mingo Madness. We hope he'll be there.
I hope so. I hope so. Again, 2020 is going to be crazy. That's why I decided to go to going caching this year, just because of how crazy 2020 will be.
Right.
That's
so
smart.
we already know so many things happening next year, and there's things we don't know about yet. That there's
right.
events and stuff like that they haven't even announced yet. There's going to be tons of promotions, and I can imagine they're going to pull out all the stops next year, I suspect. So it's going to be a huge year. I need to take like a sabbatical for a year just to get into some caching, but I don't think I can.
No. All right. Let's get into this. Well, I did want to mention we're mostly going to talk about Brazil, and mostly Brazil and beyond, because you did a whole thing. We're going to talk about all the different places you went.
Mm-hmm.
But you came up with a video recently, and it really I had a really fun time watching it and thinking about what it was like and what other people are doing. It's like, how is that possible to get permission even over there to put it's a geo tour, right, Josh?
It's a full geo tour. 30 letter boxes right off the railroad tracks using these rail bike devices, which is basically a bicycle that's designed to ride on the rails that 4 people can ride on. I posted the video last Sunday of myself and Daniel Flieger on this incredible rail bike. Daniel and his company Geheimpuck put the tour together. So they built the tour, and it was with some other folks from Berlin. It's south of Berlin, and it was just one of those just unique experiences. Like I didn't even know these bikes existed, let alone being able to get 30 geocaches along a railroad path.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it was fun. Like I said, it was fun seeing the bike and how you just sort of pedal the bike, and it's just insane. Other people are on.
Right, you don't have to steer at all. The only thing that's tough, and everybody asks me this, and you see it in the video. What happens when there's another rail bike coming towards you? And you have to literally lift these things off the tracks, let the people pass, and put it back on. And let me tell you, these bikes were not light. It was pretty heavy. So that was the one thing that was a little bit tricky. But we went during a weekday, so there weren't a lot of people on the tracks.
Wow,
that's cool. Fun. Where exactly was that?
In a little town south of Berlin. I think it was about 30 miles south of Berlin. I think it's called Flaming, Germany. So, and somebody asked, Bounce House asked, did they make the bikes for the tour, or did it already exist? I believe the bike rail thing already existed. And it's really cool, guys. There's restaurants along the rail thing. There's a place where you can actually rent out an old railroad car, and you can like sleep inside the railroad car like halfway. So if you want to not do it in one day, you can make it a whole like overnight thing. It was really cool.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's a very good use of repurposing an old railroad system.
Yeah, totally. In U.S., so many people are taking out the railroad and putting bike paths, that's great. It's a great idea. But this is just a whole different type of thinking where like we're not going to take the railroad out. We're going to use the railroad and use these amazing bikes. It was really, incredible. A really unique experience. My wife, who is a muggle, just watched the video, and she was, she's very rarely jealous of me geocaching, and seeing me on this really cool rail bike, she was like, "Oh, that's something I really would want to do." So.
Very cool. Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what all occurred even before the Brazil trip? Because you had a plan in place.
Yes.
To go do the Ape Cache in Brazil and beyond, and tell folks kind of, because I remember you texted me one day and you go, "I can't go." I'm like, "What? What do you mean you can't go?"
So this is one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. So let's go rewind back to last October. I went with Daniel Flieger's company, Cache Horizon, which is his geocaching tourism company, and we did the Pacific Northwest bus tour, hitting all the Jasmers up in the Pacific Northwest. It was myself and 37 Germans, and it was Cache Tour Season 1. I decided
Season 1.
Yeah, season 1. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do a series of videos where, like, they sequentially happen. So I was like, oh, we're going to do this series. It's going to be called Cache Tour. It was great. So that finished up, really successful, a lot of fun. And I began to ask Daniel, and Daniel began to ask me, like, Josh, where do you want to go? Anywhere. Where do you want to go? And I would say very early on when I started geocaching, you find out about these special geocaches, and I heard about these 8 geocaches, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's one in Washington. Oh, and there's one in Brazil, and just this idea and this feeling of like this holy grail of geocaching. It feels very like Indiana Jones-ish, and so everybody always asks me, what is your number one? What's number one on your geocaching bucket list? And for years and years, it's always been Brazil. So I was like, why not? What's the worst thing that Daniel could do? Say no.
Right.
So I was like, Daniel, it would be really amazing for Cache Tour Season 2 to do Brazil. And of course, Daniel, he's a mover and a shaker. He's like, let's do it. We're going to figure it out. And I had already had a trip to Germany without my wife, and I've already had a trip to Pacific Northwest without my wife. I was like, Daniel, I think this time if I say I'm going to Brazil and Tammy can't come, that's my wife, it's not going to go well at home. That's not going to be a good thing. So he made it possible to have her come along. So it was all booked for April of 2019. It was booked months in advance. I got my plane tickets. Everything was all ready. They sent me all the information I needed to know, what to pack. And on the information, it said, good news, we don't need any visas. So I was good.
Right.
We got to the day before I was going to leave for the trip. My wife and I went to the doctor. We got our yellow fever shots. By the way, that shot isn't cheap. Completely covered by insurance. That was cool. Side note. But got our shots. We were all immune, ready to go. We were packed, ready to go to Brazil. The day before, I decided I'm going to start checking into my flights. And all of a sudden, the airline started asking for visa information. I'm like, wait a minute, visa information? Yeah. Daniel said I didn't need visa information. If you're a German, you don't know.
Oh, no.
The United States at that time required a visa. And so I'm scrambling. I'm talking to the U.S. government. I'm like, how can I get a visa really quick? How can I expedite it? How can I make it happen? Right. And he was like, well, you could go. Are you anywhere near Chicago? I'm like, Chicago's like 6 hours away. And she goes, well, the office closes in an hour. So there was no way I could get to Chicago and get a visa on, in such short notice. So I was panicking. Conversations with Daniel, trying to figure it out, and the trip for Joshua was canceled. It was so heartbreaking.
Dang it!
I couldn't even get back the airline money either, which was
no.
They said I could, but in the end it didn't happen. So months passed by, and I'm like, Daniel. By the way, they still have the trip. 30-some Germans still went without
they went.
So they still had the trip. But Daniel, he's a mover and a shaker. He said, Josh, we're still going to make this happen.
Wow.
So, sure enough, he said, we're going to do it. We're going to have it be a smaller and shorter trip. So usually their trip to Brazil is about 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we're gonna take the Buenos Aires part of the trip out, and it's going to be just a week trip. We're gonna open it up to people on short notice if they want to join us. They had a special contest where people could submit videos if they wanted to be a part of it, and a man named Patrick from Switzerland won that contest, so he was on the trip.
Cool.
And so
that's awesome.
it ended up being 6 Germans, myself, and one man from Switzerland. And
Wow.
And sure enough, everything worked out, and I was on a plane the first week of August last month.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
So
now you fly to Sao Paulo, Brazil, if I'm correct on the.
that is correct. Fly to Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo, and then it's interesting that if you, I think this is something too tonight that we'll be able to talk about is, I think a lot of people when they initially look at it, they're like, "It's too much planning, and I don't know where to stay." And I've heard a lot of different, I won't know what to do. I don't speak the language. I mean, I don't know, it's probably this huge hike, and I'm not really in shape to do this enormous hike. And so I think tonight we'll be able to dispel, I think, some of those falsities, rumors of things that aren't true,
Right.
So
that's totally true, Gary. Now that I've done it, even with me knowing that Daniel and his company has done this very many times, there's a certain amount of security in that, so that is wonderful.
Sure.
But after doing it, a lot of the fears you would have about it are only fears, because once you're there and once you start doing it, it really isn't as complicated and as scary as somebody might think. So totally true.
So you flew to Sao Paulo.
Yes.
And then now you guys decided you did some other things prior to doing the Ape Cache, right? You did the Geo Tour, or did you do it different? What kind of order did y'all take for this?
You kind of do it all at the same time, because the Ape Cache is a part of the Geo Tour. So for those of you that
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It used to be the Ape Cache with a lot of caches in Intervalis Park, but now, very recently, they just had the launch event last weekend, so we got to do Geo Tour before the launch event.
Wow!
So the actual Geo Tour down there is brand new. So they've added caches, they've added some higher quality caches around the park. So the Ape Cache is a part of the tour. So as you're walking to the Ape Cache, of course, we did some of the Geo Tour geocaches. There's 19 caches that are part of the Geo Tour. And then I would say in the park, there's probably another, I'd say maybe 20 other caches that you are finding just along the trail. As you're making your goal to complete the Geo Tour, you're passing other caches. So full day, let me tell you, we did 2 full days of caching in the park. And I'd say each day I did about 9 miles of hiking each day.
Right. No, but the terrain is pretty level, though, right?
Yeah, pretty level. There's one section where there's sort of a lookout where it's almost straight up, obviously, and it is a part of the Geo Tour. And it's not. I give it a terrain 3.5. It's not anything crazy. You don't need special equipment, but it is a pretty steep incline. But it's a switchback sort of thing, so it's doable. It might get your heart going a little bit, but it is doable for your average cacher.
But if somebody's not in the best health, they could skip that one probably and do a lot of the rest, right?
They sure could. The only thing is that one cache up there on the lookout, and Gary, you might have a picture of that lookout. I don't know if you're able to load them in, but that one cache is a part of the Geo Tour. So if you wanted to officially complete the Geo Tour and get that souvenir, you would have to log that cache. But again, it's nothing crazy. It's just I'd say a 3.5 terrain.
Okay.
Switchbacks up a hill. It would be the one to your right a little bit, Gary. Up to your right, other way.
Other right. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, other one. Yep, there it is, right there. Yep. So that's the lookout. That's the highest point, and you can get a good view of Intervalis Park from that picture right there.
Wow.
I don't know if you can make it bigger, Gary. I'm just seeing it really.
Yeah, we just have the whole screen right now, Gary.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me see. Let me do.
Gary's not sharing with the rest of us.
Hang on. Hold on. I'm trying to make it work this way.
That's okay. It doesn't work.
No, I could get it. You know what? It switched the screen. Let me. Hang on, I can get. Let me.
So that one was probably the hardest one then on the whole tour?
Probably the hardest. Yeah, probably the hardest one to get to, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but all of them, they were a ton of fun, and I don't want to reveal too much because
Right.
when the videos come out, you're going to get a taste of some of the creativity. There's just a lot of really great fresh caches in there, some creative ones, some gadget type caches. They've really done a really good job of making it an enjoyable experience beyond just the ape cache. And let me just say, if just the ape cache was in that park, to me, it would have been worth the trip. Just the ape cache in itself.
What was the weather like while you were down there?
So it's their winter right now. So I was there in August. But it was really, really lovely. It probably in the evening it got down to low 60s Fahrenheit, and during the day it was at low 80s. So it was a really beautiful time of year to be down there. And one of the fears I had was just bugs. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get yellow fever shots if I have a mosquito bite me that has yellow fever. I'm that's a horrible thing. But in the park, there were hardly any bugs. It was just delightful. And for those of you also that don't know about Intervalos Park, it's a very world-renowned birding location. So the people that were in the park were basically us as geocacher and birders from all over the world, because there's so many different exotic birds in there. I mean, you're talking about like birds that you see in cartoons that look like candy, toucans, and I mean, it's just birds everywhere. It was so beautiful. Everything you would imagine sort of geocaching in the jungle would be, all the good parts of it were there. It was a great time of year to be there.
And oddly enough, birding and geocachers are probably dressed alike, so you probably couldn't tell much difference.
Exactly. The only difference is the binoculars, basically. And it's so funny because birders and geocachers are very similar mindset, because it's all about, how many different breeds of birds can I find? They're searching for things just like we are. So as you're having your dinner in the little restaurant in the park, and there's just a lovely little restaurant in the park. You're having dinner with geocachers and birders, and I think those two types of hobbies really get along pretty well. So
that is funny. Anything that surprised you about that park? Like, you have a lot of things in your mind. Like, when I think of it, I'm thinking jungle. I think it's dripping water off of every tree, and it's just 120 degrees, and bugs are everywhere. And it sounds like none of that's true. So
no, I mean, it was, at least the time I was there, it was all the good things I could imagine the jungle would be. Here, I mean, the fears I have were snakes. I didn't see one snake. There were hardly any bugs, and the park it's a well-maintained park. So I was imagining some really like treacherous trails. I was nervous. Like, if I was there not with Daniel's group, I'd be like, would I get lost out there? The trails are very established. Their signs, they're marked. It is certainly remote, but it is an established park. It is essentially what would be equivalent to a state park in the United States. So again, and there's amenities as far as like a restaurant, and there's cabins. The whole place felt like, there it is.
Yeah, I'll pull it up in a second. Go ahead, keep going.
The whole park felt like a state park, or like a camp park where there's sort of cabins and a dining hall. So that would be the best thing to compare it to, only in the jungle. So yeah. So I'm trying to think of anything else surprised me. Yeah, I thought it would be a lot more treacherous. So yeah, this is the highest point of the park. You can see Intervalos Park there. You can see it's a little bit hilly, but we were not going up those hills. It was it was pretty flat. Most of the hiking was pretty flat.
Right.
Another thing.
Cool.
So yeah.
Another thing that's cool, in the park, there are some really cool caves. So there was actually a guide who took us an hour and a half through a cave with headlamps and everything. That was really awesome. It was earth caches. I mean, every different icon was there. You could get every icon, which is
nice.
Which is pretty cool. We had an event there one evening as well. So
incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty special. Intervalos Park, and as I was there, I was like, if I just got the ape cache and I was done with the trip, that I would be satisfied. That would be enough.
Well, I don't think there's before the, like you said, before the Geo Tour, there wasn't a whole lot of caches in that park, was there? There wasn't. I mean,
there were a lot of, I think, vacation caches. So
Okay.
here's one thing that surprised me. A lot of people, they would come over the years to visit the Ape Cache, and they sort of would want to leave their mark, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
I was surprised with these were the ones that were not a part of the Geo Tour. I was surprised with the amount of micros in the jungle. So,
Wow.
and I was honestly just a little frustrated. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Another micro in the jungle?" And those, again, those were not a part of the Geo Tour. But a group would visit from the Netherlands, and of course, the cache would be "Hello, Ape Cache to the Netherlands." So there were several caches in there that that were put out by people from all over the world. So that was a little bit surprising.
That is
surprising that they would kind of allow that, but
maybe they're not allowing anymore because now there's a lot established there.
Yeah.
But I think because the area was so remote in the past, and they could ensure, because there's a man there that is very familiar with geocaching. He's essentially one of the rangers. I think they go out there and they're like, "We'll hide it," and he would quote unquote maintain the cache.
Oh, okay.
But now that there's a Geo Tour and some really high quality caches in the park, I doubt that's going to be. It's not even needed. The park is now filled with caches.
So, One other question, I think people would be on the top of their list, I guess, if somebody just listening would planning a trip like this.
Mm-hmm.
I know it doesn't affect you because you had an extra 4 months, so you probably picked up Portuguese and German while you were waiting.
Oh, yes. Fluent.
If somebody didn't have that extra 4 months and they only spoke English,
mm-hmm.
Could they still navigate a trip like this, you think?
Yes, they could. Now, Brazil, I've compared to traveling most places in Europe, I think Brazil was probably the location that I ran into the most people that could not speak English. However, it was shocking how well we could communicate with people through Google Translate. We would literally type it in and show it on our phones, and people knew exactly what we needed at that moment. And there were also some people, some birding guides in Intervalos Park that bring people from all over the world and could speak many languages. So there were a couple times where he was translating for us. Yes, the barrier is there, but nothing that technology cannot get you through. So.
Right.
I actually have an app on my Apple Watch now that's supposed to speak and translate for you. I can't wait to use that somewhere. So, like, they can speak in it and you can speak in it, and it'll translate back and forth. So,
yeah, it would come.
I can't imagine it's going to be very accurate, but I'm going to try it anyway. So.
Yeah, it would come in. It would come in very handy. The cabins. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about the park.
Yeah.
I had a lot of these questions, like where do you sleep? Where do you
stay? Yeah.
So on the park grounds, there's these cabins, and it's essentially kind of like you go into it. There's a common area. Sometimes there's a kitchenette, and then around the area there are rooms with like double beds in each room,
right?
And full working bathrooms. Really, I mean, it's not the Ritz. It's a cabin, right? But it's a pretty nice cabin, and splitting it amongst a group, it's like 20 real a night per person. Okay, 20 real a night is like $6. $6.
Right. Nothing.
$6 a night. A lot of people, I'm sure they think of this and they're like, "Oh, I could never go because I could never afford it." And I would hesitate that talk, and I would just put it out in the universe. If this is a goal of yours to do something like this, it's more possible than you think. The biggest barrier is the flight. The flight. That's the biggest expense.
Yeah.
And that's about $1,000. $1,000, which isn't horrible. Like Europe is much more, depending where you go.
Yeah.
So $1,000 round trip, that isn't, again, it's all relative, right?
Right.
Budget
It's a
for
lot
that.
of money,
Right.
but it's Brazil. It's
It's
not like you're
Brazil.
just going down the street. That's a huge, once in a lifetime trip. So.
Right. That's a pretty exotic location. So, like a lot of places in the world, once you get there, it can be it's pretty darn affordable. The American dollar or the European dollar, especially, goes pretty far.
Yeah.
So what about food? I have to ask, since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
You have food to eat there? Because some people like to eat a lot,
Right. So get this. You're going to love this. So there's a cute little dining area. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's only designated times you can go. All right. So we only used it. We used it for breakfast and for dinner. And let me just tell you, I'm going to tell you again. I told you this last time I was on when I talked about the Cache Tour Season 1. The Germans don't eat during the day at all. Caching is the priority. We're not eating lunch. So literally, I'd be eating breakfast at 8, hiking all day and caching, and finally get to eat about 8 o'clock at night. So my metabolism was not used to that. But anyway, but Germans, it's awesome.
It's kind of like church camp. You gotta be there. You gotta be at a certain time. Get your food. If you don't get the food, you don't eat.
So that's exactly what it feels like. And for one price, it's I think breakfast comes with staying there, but during dinner, it's a buffet style. So you go there, everybody, all the birders, all the geocachers, they meet at this place, having drinks, and there's sort of like what would be like a kind of a place where you could get snacks and like soda and beer, and then they bring out the spread, and whatever they're having that night, that's what you're having. And rice and chicken and pork and just and it's all you can eat. It's all you can eat. So
I like that part of it.
Yeah,
food. It's not that bad, buddy.
So did you have enough time to convert any birders into geocachers?
No, I did not. I did not have enough time for that. They were pretty focused on, you saw all the birders in the restaurant, all on their computers, like talking about, just like Geocache, talking about what they saw and did we see that one? And so, no, they were very focused. We were very focused on geocaching, and they were very focused on birding. So no,
both groups thought the other group was nerdy, and they're both right.
Yes, exactly.
Now, the funny thing is, so you're going to start to make your hike out to the Project Ape.
Oh, the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, man. It's just incredible. And now, and we did a show way back. There's a Geocache Talk show number 6 way back where I talked with Rock Chalk about it. And the funny thing, he tells the funny story about how he gets out, he starts to go out there. He's like, why won't this thing show up on my GPSR? And he's like, oh yeah, it's a whole different icon. So
he filtered it out.
You're with a group, so you didn't have to worry about that. But
as I approach, so the trail gets a little bit thinner as you get closer to the Ape Cache, which is really cool because it feels a little bit more Indiana Jones-ish.
Right. Love it.
It feels a little bit more remote, and I was a little bit selfish in that moment. I was just kind of like, up to that point, other people were kind of leading the way, and I was just like, guys, talking to my German and my Swiss friends,
right? Are
you okay with me for this one, just taking the lead? And they were great with it. So I got to be the first one. I got to be the first one to have my eyes look upon the glory of that gigantic ammo can. And
where is it? I can't seem to find it. Where's
yeah, it's obvious.
If people don't realize, one thing also people may not realize, yes, ammo can, but we're talking like large, beyond what people think about an ammo can being. I mean, it stands up like 3 feet off the ground. I mean, that's how large it is.
It's one of the really big ammo cans, and it was sitting behind a tree. And I grabbed that thing, and as you can see in the pictures, I'm hugging it and giving it a kiss, and you realize I thought, when I thought that this would be on my bucket list, I thought, you know what, I might get to this when I'm an old man, right? I might get to this in retirement. So the fact that I had the opportunity, it was very surreal feeling as a geocacher to actually be there, because I got there way sooner than I ever thought I would. So I was so happy. My heart was beating, and I began almost contemplating. I'm like, where do I go from here? Like, what can I do from here that is in geocaching that is gives me this sort of high?
Yeah.
So I was just reveling in the glory
Moment.
in the
Well,
moment. Yeah.
There, and what's interesting too, and you sent some photos. I'm gonna show a couple photos here in a second, but that's the other thing is a couple things that everybody talks about, and you get to experience it, which was the logbook. People write, short stories
Right.
in the logbook. I mean, they which is nice, but how much time did you spend? Like, did you read through a few pages and go, oh my gosh, I could spend like several hours reading all these?
I was really nervous the whole time I was there, because I was very aware of, like, I had to capture it for the YouTube channel, right? So
Right.
I kept on. I should have had a checklist. I'm like, what do I need to film here? Like, I'm not going to get this chance to come here again. So what do I need to capture here so I don't miss anything? Because there was so much to do. So, like, I was taking pictures with trackables, and I have a picture of the Geocache Talk coin that I picture with, because I thought, oh, you'll really enjoy that. The picture right here, that there actually is a movie prop from Planet of the Apes inside of it. This was a surprise to me.
Wow, it's still in there.
Yeah, this is a surprise to me. I don't know if it was added later, because I know the cache is called Southern Bowl. So the original movie prop that was in there was a bowl, and the first to find person got to keep that. So I don't know if later on somebody brought in this patch from the Planet of the Apes, but there's the patch, and there's a certificate of authenticity. So that was cool that was in there. There was a very special stamp, Ape Cache stamp in there that I stamped. And then just reading through, and there I am. If you're watching the video, there I am with the cache.
That's crazy.
Oh, that is
incredible.
And
it's a big
making sure.
How long did you spend there then doing all that?
We were probably there. I'd say I was there for 45 minutes.
Mm.
I was there a good chunk of time. I was really grateful, as much as I would have loved to go on that first trip. There were 30 some people on that trip. So I was really fortunate that this time there were only 8 of us, and I could take a little bit more time with the cache and just reveling in the glory of finding that cache. Took pictures, video.
Incredible.
And as I'm standing there, I looked at the group and I said, isn't it amazing that this just giant piece of metal brought me to Germany? Like, thinking, or brought me to Brazil. Like, I was like, guys, think about this. None of us would be standing here in this country if it wasn't for this silly box. I know. Crazy. This is crazy to think about.
And
more than just a trip there, you're a trip there meeting people from the other side of the world, and you're all there for the same reason.
I know. It's very special.
Is the ape? I've seen people with pictures of, and you could go on the website and look, or the cache page. Is that the ape mask? Is it still in there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And of course, I had to.
Nasty. You put it on anyway.
Everybody is like, "Don't put that on. It's so nasty." I'm like, I'm putting it on. This is my only time I'm ever going to get to. So I for sure held my breath, and I put that mask on for sure.
You can't pass an opportunity up.
Yeah, no.
What else is there? What else was in there that, I guess we don't spoil it for everybody, but for some people who may never get there, what obviously are they leaving every logbook in it?
Yeah,
you think?
The original logbook was in there. That was really cool.
Wow, the original logbook.
Yeah, because again, while it's one of the most famous caches in the world, I mean, compared to the other ape cache, a fraction of people visited, and it's well protected, it's well maintained, and anybody that will take the time and spend the money to go there, they are the type of geocacher that will honor that cache and honor every single thing in it and honor what it means. That's why nobody has even thought of stealing or taking that patch movie prop and the certificate of authenticity, because it's just like, this is geocaching holy ground, and nobody is that going to ruin that amazing experience for anybody else. So original logbooks, the movie prop, the mask, so many ridiculous
trackables.
Yeah, ridiculous amount of trackables.
Too many, probably.
I dropped them and I didn't take any out of there. So yeah.
Wow.
Again, you can just log that TFTC, right?
Yeah, you're not.
Don't you dare.
No,
so what's going on in this picture?
Oh, that's just another one of the fun new caches in the park. That's one of those lower them down sort of thing that was hanging up in the tree, and you realized when you saw the rope at the base of the tree that was what was hanging up in the tree, and the other side of the monkey is the logbook. So
oh wow,
so there's cool. a cache at the bottom of the tree that's filled with markers. So
neat.
Yeah. So again, just cute stuff.
Quality caches.
Quality, cute stuff, and I'm really excited. Cool. Here's my little self promotion. This fall, you're going to get a good 6 episodes of Cache Tour Season 2. You're going to get to kind of experience it along with me.
I love it. Cool. I love it. That's incredible. Yeah. So that's the thing is there came a point where you're like, we gotta leave. I mean, did you feel like you had finished it all and you were done? I mean, you've been there. You did spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, we spent 2.5 days there. I mean, caching every day.
But at the Project Ape.
Oh right.
Yeah.
There was a sense of completion, but as I'm walking away, I'm thinking, did I get everything? Did I get all the pictures I wanted? Did I get all my video I wanted?
Right.
There's a sense of, there was a little bit of a letdown, like I did it. And again, just after the whole trip as a whole, it's like, what next? Like what's greater than that in geocaching? And I know there's great things. We have a big world, but there was a little bit of a letdown, like, wow, I did it. And now what's next? But that was only, I know we're almost to an hour. That was only part 1 of the trip.
I know. We're going to get to that. But as we kind of wrap up Brazil, one of our persons in the chat room, Alexander, he wants people to come visit Brazil. Absolutely.
Yeah. We have a couple people from Brazil in this chat.
Yeah. And, somebody mentioned before about Antarctica. It would be an interesting cache to go to the South Pole.
Yes.
Go to the virtual there.
That would be amazing.
The final continent. Yeah. Geocaching every continent. I feel like Antarctica is like sort of the last frontier for geocaching. If you want to get every continent.
Yeah. So you, like you said, you spent a couple days in Brazil, but again, you had a whole week. So
right.
What was all this? What came about after you were done in with the Brazil and the Geo Tour?
Yep. So Intervalos Park, just so we kind of understand the geography, is about 5 hours south of Sao Paulo. So we usually Daniel would take a coach bus down there because he would have a bigger group, but we just rented 2 cars. So after we were in Intervalos Park, we drove about 5 hours back to Sao Paulo, dropped off the cars at the airport, and got into a plane to travel to Iguazu, which is known for one of the most beautiful waterfalls in all of the world. I think it might be one of the widest waterfalls. They say that Iguazu puts Niagara Falls to shame. It is so spectacular.
Oh wow!
And I can't verify that because I've never been to Niagara Falls. Oh, there it is. So there's just, I mean, that's 5% of it, guys, in that picture. Like
that's incredible.
5% of the waterfall, but that is from the Argentina side. So Iguazu is the city of Iguazu is where Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina meet. So those 3 countries meet. So we flew into Iguazu, stayed in a hotel on the Brazil side, and the very first thing we're doing, we're like, oh my gosh, we're like literally across the river from Paraguay. we need to get over there and at least find one geocache in Paraguay.
Right.
Now, sadly, I found out once I was over there, once I found the cache, there is no souvenir for Paraguay yet. What?
Give it time.
HQ, come on, get on that, Paraguay.
But it shows up in your stats that you found another country.
I know. So here's the thing. I did something a little bit. It wasn't scary for me, but because they said everything was going to be fine, but I was nervous because Americans, again, are supposed to have a visa to go into Paraguay. So the visa is like $190. And I was like,
just to visit? I mean,
right.
You're not staying for 3 days or something. It's just a visit.
There a couple hours, right? However,
Yeah,
Daniel and everybody else that has been over there told me that they don't. It's you guys. It is the least secure border I've ever seen in my life.
Walk across.
Yeah, pretty much. Just walk across. We took a van over. I sat in the back. They needed my passport, but they don't even look at them. So we had a guide in a van that drove us over there, and we just drove through. Nobody checked anything, and da-da! I'm in Paraguay as an illegal person.
But you made it.
But I made it
They
over.
got in and got out. That's great.
Yep. So the city in Paraguay it's just mostly just a shopping area because there's a lot of smuggling going on.
Wow.
So they're smuggling electronics from Paraguay to Brazil and smuggling other things the other way. So at the border, you just saw all this like stuff on the road that was taken out that people tried to smuggle over. So it was just sort of like a commercial city. But sure enough, we found a geocache and we experienced a geocaching event. So we had an event over there. Some people from the Netherlands were there, showed up with our group, and there's actually a picture of it if Gary can find it.
Yeah, I'll the group of people right here. I got it right here. We'll show the picture. Sorry, I didn't.
And it was at the funniest location. It was just in front of an auto repair shop was where the event was. So.
Did they know you were coming to this event, or is this just happenstance that you just happened to be there at that same time?
Did who know that I was?
Did the people that hosted the event know you were coming?
Oh, the host was from our group. So if you see, if you see the picture right now, so this is the German group. So the man in the middle is Patrick. He's from Switzerland, and then the other four are all German. So this is the group I went along with. And so, so the lady in the pink shirt on the left side, she hosted the event. So all the events that we had were hosted by people in our group.
Oh, very cool.
But it was fun to have some other people join us, on the events. That was actually not the picture of the event, Gary. There's another picture of us on the steps. Yeah.
Oh, the step picture. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. So we were over there for just the morning, and then we drove back to Brazil, the Brazil side, and then that day we headed to the Iguazu waterfalls on the Brazil side.
Oh wow, yeah. Here, I'll pull up the picture real fast so we can see the.
Sure.
You talking about that one?
Yep. So that was the event.
Nice.
Right there. As you can see, it was
the whole event.
Sunday morning. Everything was closed, and we're just like, and she didn't know where to host the event. She goes, "Oh, there just looks like an open area." So that's where we had our event in Paraguay. So we did an event in Paraguay, which was kind of fun.
Hey, that works out. Now you have an extra icon down there too.
Exactly.
It's cool.
So as far as Iguazu goes, so back in 2006, do you guys remember the BBC's Planet Earth series? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there was a episode called Fresh Water, and this was the first time I saw this waterfall. And I remember back in 2006 thinking, the waterfall looked like another planet, like a Star Wars planet with CGI of like a water world that could never exist on our planet. That's what this place is like. You're looking at this place and you're like, this doesn't even look real. It was unbelievably beautiful. So in the park there were several geocaches. So along the trail of walking, you're finding geocaches while you're looking on the right side, looking at this amazing natural wonder of the world. And it was almost like I had to check myself several times because I'm like, I could have like walked away from the beauty and gone to find geocache, or just continue to look at the beauty. And so I was so torn the whole time. I was like, is it really worth it to walk away from looking at this beauty and go find this geocache?
Wow.
But I did. I
had to.
found the caches. But the cool thing is that there was a new virtual reward there.
Cool.
In one of the most beautiful spots, very close to the waterfall, and it was only logged once, and it was logged by our tour guide, who was also a geocacher. So I was really excited. I was really proud to say that I was the first American to log this really amazing virtual geocache. That was really exciting.
Real quick, Joshua, Antonio is in the chat room. He is the owner of the Challenge Cache of Brazil Geocaching.
Oh, Antonio, that is so awesome. I had an incredible time. And the fun thing, Antonio, is that the Challenge Cache was the very last cache we found, because the challenge was to find a certain amount of types within Intervalas Park, or no, within Brazil. And so that GeoTour completely made it possible. If you complete the GeoTour, you can complete the challenge of saying I logged, I think it was like 7 or 8 icons in Brazil.
Oh, cool.
That is awesome. The challenge was. So, so very well done. Thank you so much for hiding that. And thanks for being here, Antonio. Had a great time.
Wow. Yeah. So, so you've got, so Daniel's got you sort of in a sense planned out to do all these different things, where you've got Brazil, you've got, Paraguay, you've got, obviously that's his job, is to, plan out tours. But,
yes.
So you had to pull, like you said, you had to pull yourself away to do this cache. And then again, you're like, done. We got to move on to the next thing, right? That's pretty incredible.
Sort of, but you could spend the whole day on the Brazil side of the waterfalls, but there's also the next day, there's also the Argentina side. So same waterfall, but from a completely different angle. And so it's almost like seeing a different side of the Iguazu. I mean, it's miles of waterfalls.
Oh yeah.
So we got to do the Argentina side. So got an event in Argentina, got several caches along the Argentina side. Now this is a national park, and unlike United States, there's physical caches in this national park. Like I'm looking at the waterfall, and all of a sudden, right underneath a brick area, there's a physical cache. How awesome is that?
That's very
cool.
How awesome is that?
Also, Stella and Diego are in the chat room. They're the owner of the virtual cache at
how cool is that?
Iguazu. So thank you for being on with us tonight.
That is so cool. That Stella and Diego, that was a real highlight, to be able to second to find that cache. And it was at an amazing location. I think, Gary, you do have the picture of the exact spot where that virtual is. They're all going to look the same. But I don't know, the people that are watching, just to give you a sense of what this looked like. I'm just going to show you on my phone, but take a look at that.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible.
I mean, and
it's hard to even describe that for the audio listeners.
On and on. So I would encourage your viewers to just do a YouTube search on Iguazu, just to get a sense of how amazing this place is. That's the Argentina side. That's not where virtual is, but it gives you a great sense of what it was like. So
the other thing too is how would you get from
oh boy, this is a whole story.
A different story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me I'll pull up the picture, but while I'm pulling up the picture, how do you actually get from one to the Argentina side, Brazil side to the? I mean, do you drive? I mean, how do you get between them?
Yeah, so good question. So Daniel was working with sort of a tour guide that I believe Daniel converted him over to become a geocacher. Again, I realize Daniel's been here, I think, 5 times. So every time he goes, he's building new relationships with people. So that's really cool. So the guy now, our tour guide, he owns the tour guides own their own like big kind of like not a bus, but like the bigger vans, and they're licensed. There's the Brazil side. Oh, there's my little friend looking into my bag.
That's awesome.
I love that picture.
That's a crazy photo.
Yeah, those things are. Why can't I think of what they're called right now? But they're like little raccoons that have long noses. Anyway, sorry, you got me distracted.
Yep.
But anyway,
I know. I'm sorry.
So basically, he takes us in his large van. We give him all our passports. He parks on the one side of the border, goes in, talks to the people, comes back out, drives through. So we're being driven to these locations via our quote unquote tour guide person.
Right.
You could totally do it if you had a rental car. You could probably do it on your own, but just the convenience of having if you had a group of people, to have one of these people help you through those processes and that can speak your language is very useful. And he spoke English very, very well.
You don't want to get all the way down there and then miss part of what you're going for. When you're doing a trip like this, you want it to make sure that you're getting everything you came for.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, Daniel's been here 5 times and he's still using, a guide, so
right.
And it's not because he can't do it. It's just there's just a convenience factor. You can get things faster. They know where they're going. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. This conversations also they're interesting in the chat room. Kelly was asking about which side you have to get the picture in for the waterfall. My son's going in February to see it with his school group, wondering if he'd be able to get it. So you have to, from what Stella and Diego are saying, is the picture has to be taken from the Brazilian side.
It's the virtual. The new virtual is the Brazil side. However, there's also I think Earth cache. Earth cache is on the other side. So there's a lot of caches around there, but the actual virtual, that was on the Brazil side.
Okay, very cool. Yep.
And Stella and Diego said that our guide was named Francis, and he was just awesome, delightful guy. If you're thinking about going down there as a geocacher, Francis is your guy. He has a geocache in his front yard. That's
awesome.
And he's the person that is hidden many of the caches in the area. There are not a ton of caches there, and they're mostly all hidden by Francis. Mostly, not completely, as we can see. Like, I think maybe all the hiders are in the chat room tonight.
I know. It's been fun to we're kind of jumping around in the show, but I think it's kind of neat to see all the comments. I thought this is fascinating, Jesse. Here's a good one for you. Stella Diego, 10 types.
Yes.
At intervals.
But you know what? It sounds like we just need to go. We just need to go. And Geocache Talk needs to go to Brazil. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Incredible.
So 10 types in that park in Brazil. How cool.
Oh my gosh. Incredible.
So
keep going.
So next, we spent the whole day on the Argentina side, and I didn't want to walk away from it. It was just like the ape cache. I did because I was like, I just need to take this in. Like, I just need to, play the record button in my mind because I will probably never see this again, right? But I did. I walked away, and the Francis asked. He goes, our guide. He goes, do you want to spend more time at the waterfall, or would you be interested in trying to get a 5.5 FTF in Brazil?
Oh,
and of course, my German friends. I'm like, this is enough. And I'm like, of course, my German friends are like, let's do it, but we need kayaks. So of course, Francis, our guide, he knows a guy. Yeah. Francis hid this cache back in May. Okay.
Wow.
It's now August.
That's this one here.
Yep. And stay on that picture for a bit.
Okay.
So that right there, I believe, and the people in the chat can correct me. I think that is it's Piranha River, but they pronounce piranhas different. It's like piranha, but I think there's piranha in that river.
Oh my God. So, okay.
that is the river that separates. So on the right side is Brazil. On the right side of the bridge is Brazil, and the left side is Argentina. And if you look at the bridge on that pillar towards the Brazil side, that's where the geocache is. So
No way.
So we rented kayaks, two kayaks, and we went down the Piranha River, and to try to attempt to get this 5.5 FTF in Brazil.
Wow.
And so, so I told this story last week on the geocaching podcast because they had a show about extreme caching.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we get there. Only 3 of us can go because that's all we have room for. And I was a part of it. We kayaked over there. We got to that pillar, and we looked at the pillar. And when Francis hid the cache, it was right at eye level. Well, it's winter, and the river is considerably lower. You can see from the picture. You can see from the picture where the trees start. That's where the river was. You guys, the geocache was 14 feet in the air on the bridge.
Oh no!
I looked at that thing and I was like, "No way! There's no way! It's too high. It's not happening." Immediately, I thought DNF. We gave it a try. Of course, my 2 German friends, she's like, "We're going to try it. We're going to go for it." So we're on. Imagine this picture. We're on the Piranha River with Piranha in there,
right?
And she's standing on a kayak while we're holding the kayak, keeping it steady on the water. She's taking the end of her paddle and she's trying to reach this cache. Now, keep in mind, I'm thinking, okay, she's going to hit this cache, and the cache is going to fall in the Piranha River, right?
Exactly.
But she's trying. She's trying. It's shaking. I'm like, she's going to fall in. The cache is going to fall in. This is going to be horrible. She works at it for about 10 minutes. All of a sudden, she knocks it from its location, and it falls 14 feet right inside of our kayak.
Oh my God.
We opened it up and we got a first to find. I couldn't believe it. You should have saw. Well, you'll get to see because we got video of the celebration of getting a 5.5 FTF in Brazil on a kayak in the Piranha River.
Oh, that is pretty epic.
It was.
Wow. You can't get much more epic than that.
I know, it was epic, and I have scars on my leg to prove it because I just got eaten alive by this strange bug, this strange Brazilian bug, so badly that my feet started to swell when I got back. But it was totally worth it.
Oh, that's absolutely worth it.
Wow.
I mean, you did kind of stack the deck a little bit. If you're going for a 5.5, you've got Germans with you.
And
you kind of stack the deck, but
and our Swiss friend too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Roger asked who put it back. Well, it was a strong magnet, so we were able to push it back up with the paddle. We weren't able to get it into the exact spot, but we pushed it up as high as it could go. But you guys, the river was so. I mean, when I saw that, guys, I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get this." But my crazy German and Swiss friends proved me wrong.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah,
incredible. I'm even more jealous now than I was when we started this conversation.
Well, that was a bonus. I was not expecting that to happen. That was not on the itinerary. You know, as I looked at the Cachely map, you go into town and you're like, oh, what caches are in this city? And you just see that FTF staring at you on the Cachely app, and you're thinking, no way. It's been sitting there since May. No way is that going to happen. But thankfully, Daniel made it possible to give us enough time to make it happen. So,
hey, Owen from KC's asking about. Can't wait for the video of that. When can people start to kind of maybe see some of those? Do you think? Can you kind of share a little bit of the timetable for your cache tour?
If you look behind me here, see that whiteboard? That's my schedule. You probably can't read it, but believe it or not, I have a lot more videos, German videos to get through. So I have about 5 more German videos to get through, and then I have going caching. So I don't know when those are going to typically try to put videos close to the event instead of waiting. So right now it's looking like Cache Tour Season 2, the first episode will probably release late October, maybe early November. So you get just like any
that's not that far away at all.
So just like any good show, you're gonna have to wait. It'll
wait.
Yeah, it'll hopefully be out before the first Star Wars movie, or before the Star Wars movie comes out.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's not too long to. I mean, it'll be here in no time. But
Yeah, but I mean, this footage is just sitting on my hard drive, and I'm so excited to share it because I don't know if there's going to be a season 3 of Cache Tour because I'm not sure I can top it.
that is incredible. Yeah,
I bet you'll find a way.
Yeah, well,
you'll find some amazing adventure to go on. We have faith in you, Joshua.
We'll say. Well, thank you.
So, you after after that you kind of it's time to pack it up and head home, huh?
Yeah. So the next day we got on the plane and flew back to Sao Paulo, and we had our flight left really late. So I was kind of bushed. I was kind of like, you know what? I think I'm done. Like I got my fill. I feel satisfied. But of course, my German friends were like, Josh, there's a park that's filled with puzzles that we have solved in Sao Paulo. Now, here's the thing. The thing that I'm told about that I need to be careful as an American traveling is everything's really safe as long as there's some areas in Sao Paulo that can be dangerous. So in my mind as a traveler, I'm thinking I don't know if I want to go downtown Sao Paulo.
Right.
Daniel, by the way, stayed in Iguazu because he continued on to Peru. So Daniel was done with us. So now I kind of felt like I wasn't leading the trip, but I was kind of like, I was the one that drove the rental car. So I kind of felt like, okay, now all of a sudden I'm the leader and I've never been I was nervous. And I was like, guys, there's no, how are we going to get down there? And they're like, oh, we could do Uber. So we took an Uber.
Seriously?
Yeah, we took an Uber downtown, and that evening, and it was quite a drive. Let me say, Sao Paulo is a huge city, huge. It's like I think it's second. The people in the chat can tell me. I think it's the second largest city in the world. It is humongous. So from the airport to downtown was like almost like an hour and 45 minutes one way.
Wow!
And that was an Uber ride.
That's Uber, yeah. Well, yeah. Who knows what they're doing? Hopefully,
yeah. But we spent the evening and day and evening caching Sao Paulo. Got about 30 some caches, and before so, I mean, you go with the German and you're caching. Just like I took that the first cache tour. Like we would cache all day, and then we'd have dinner. And they're like, okay, we're in the city. Let's cache some more. Like I'm like, do you guys eat or sleep?
Yeah,
they eat or sleep geocaching. That's what they do.
You eat when you get home. We're not eating now. We got to cache.
That is quite a trip. I mean, it is going to be hard for you to top this.
It is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And so, I don't know what's next because people have asked me. Even Daniel is like, Daniel's trying to get a sense. Like, Josh, I was like, Daniel, I don't know if I can top this. And I was like, and he was asking me what was next, and I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, people in the chat room are giving their suggestions. Owen's telling you the Antarctic cam is calling.
Oh boy, I don't know.
I mean,
I think for me, there's a couple things. If I'm thinking about what's next, I think I would like to get another continent. Mm-hmm. So I think Australia and New Zealand.
Oh gosh, yes.
I think that's calling my name.
Yeah,
I think that it just makes sense. So it's because it's either that or Africa or like Europe's first, or the Ireland, UK area.
Yeah.
But I think what makes sense to me. So I'm just like I'm putting it out into the universe right now. Okay, I'm just like I did with the Ape Cache. I'm thinking Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah.
So, but
they're so cool, and Cache Tour season 3 I think would be incredible to go down
Australia.
there. But you got like you said, you got next year such a such up there thing. I mean, but planning, you got people.
Yeah, it probably won't be.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, Ryan's right. But Ryan's right. Said 2020 Geocache Tour is probably going to build itself with events. That's probably true.
Right.
Or the great idea, Ryan, space station.
There you go.
That's probably season 50.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it'll be my grandchildren. My grandchildren will be
Right.
50 space station.
So, as we start to wrap up tonight, I want to start before we get into I get your final thoughts on the whole trip. But what are some things before we do that? I know we've talked about some of them tonight, as far as it can be planned, it can be done. It's not like you were talking about about 1,000 for as far as U.S. It's fairly cheap to stay there. But what are some other things that come to mind that for somebody who wants to make a trip down to River Falls and to do some of those things? Is there anything else that you kind of would help people in their planning for that?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I guess one could Cache Horizon, and this is just a little commercial for Cache Horizon, just because they made this trip all possible. Cache Horizon is more than welcome to open up this opportunity for more than people just from Germany. I mean, his market is Germany, but I'm talking to you right now. You've talked to Daniel before. If somebody wanted to go to Cache Horizon, they certainly could do that. And all it would be just you meet them at the airport and you go from there. It's plug and play. You don't have to worry about a thing. And honestly, like if I'm somebody that has not traveled abroad much, I would really encourage them, whether it's Cache Horizon or another group that has done it before, to go with them.
Right.
Now, if they weren't to do that, if they have, they have some courage as far as I'm going to try to do this with myself or a group of friends, which could be done.
Yep.
Taz from the Geocaching podcast, I believe he did it with some friends from America. So you have to think about a couple. First, airfare. Then you got to figure out how to get to Sao Paulo. So rental car. You have to reserve lodging at the park. Okay. And that's simply a phone call for a couple nights. And then you have to think about, if you want to do Iguazu, you're going to have to think about flights from Sao Paulo to Iguazu, a hotel stay in Iguazu. And then as far as other costs, food is pretty reasonable. Again, your American dollar goes pretty far with food.
Right.
But then also there was admission to the parks. So admission to the Brazil side of the waterfall and the Argentina side, that was probably about $30 per side, American dollars.
Right.
So other than that, it's pretty much, I mean, just like anything, geocaching is your tour guide. I would hook up with Francis if you need, Francis's contact information, and he would surely he literally picks you up at the hotel at Iguazu, takes you where you need to go. We'll make stops to geocaches because he knows geocaching. We'll stop at his house, get the geocache.
His house, right?
Yeah. So it's with a little bit of work and a little bit of planning, it could be done on your own as well. But there's something fun about going with a group of crazy Germans too. So
I bet. Yeah, that definitely lends itself to that the whole trip. But so
I would estimate total cost if people are really curious.
Yeah.
Total cost, I would say, I'm spitballing here.
Yeah.
I don't know what the flights are from Sao Paulo to Iguazu. I think they're pretty affordable. I'd say $2,000. You can do the whole thing, food and everything. $2,000. Okay. For a week.
That's that sounds $2,000 sounds like a lot of money, but you're talking about a trip that you'll do once in a lifetime.
Right.
You don't go there like once a year. I mean, that's a huge trip. That's a life-changing trip. That's just huge.
Yeah, you'll never forget it, and you'll never regret it. You'll never regret it if that's something. If that is your goal, start saving up, make it happen. Funny thing is, I have a little app called Acorns that literally rounds up my change. Just thinking about creative ways, because people always say that, like, I don't have the money, but sometimes it's just you need the creativity. So I have an app where every time I swipe my card, if my coffee is $1.75, it saves 25 cents of it. And that kind of money adds up really quick. really quick. So
Yeah.
there's creative ways to save. If this is a goal, a life goal of yours, there are creative ways, I think, to make it happen.
Wow. That's
Absolutely.
well, Josh, we're going to give you the final word here in a minute. Jesse, what are some of your final thoughts on things we talked about tonight?
Well, this was an amazing trip, and I'm sure we could talk about it for hours. And luckily you have some video. I'm glad you took a lot of video, because I'll be excited to see, really the full experience. Which us talking about it does there's some justice to it, but not like the video that you took, obviously.
Yeah.
But plus the excitement that you'll get to convey, because it was real, right? I mean, you're right there on the spot, and you were. I've seen you cash in before. You get really excited, so I can imagine it was, cave cash. But
I was excited.
Yeah,
I was excited.
I think you said something good, that it is possible. I mean, everybody has different means and different ability and stuff like that. But if this is in the realm of possibility for you, you can save up and you can do stuff like this. And I would say for the first trip that you go on, that's out of your comfort zone, reaching out to one of these companies, whether it's Daniel and them or whether it's somebody else, it's a good idea, because I would have been that idiot if I planned that trip by myself. I'd have just jumped in that river and swam. And there's piranha in that river. I mean, there's some dumb things that can happen to you out there, Plus, you don't want to get somewhere else. And let's say you were on your own, you're not with that group, and you did get across the border and couldn't get back.
Right.
You need people to know where you are. If you're getting outside of your normal area, unless you travel a ton, and you're putting yourself in a new situation, maybe reach out to a group, maybe have some assurances there that you're going to be okay. But you can still do it on your own if you got experience. But even so, with that group and everything else, you can save up for these trips. And, this may be the one and only trip you ever go on that's like that, but it is possible to do stuff like this. And I've never regretted any of the travel I've ever been on. You don't get a second chance to miss out on something like that. You got to really, it's worth saving up for it. Maybe skip coffee a couple times, and it's worth it. But thanks for that recounting of that. And I look forward to that series of videos. That's going to be really good. So,
boy, we do.
Yeah.
My last quick thought, and then Josh, I'm gonna let you say last thoughts. But one thing is, and I agree completely with Jesse. Every trip that we've ever taken, especially we took a trip to Scotland a while back, was great. We went with a group, and I think it went well because we had the whole family. We had some younger kids, so you have to kind of factor in, is it just adults? Are you bringing kids? I mean, there could be some things you need to think about. One of the things, though, about that trip, though, Josh, that you took was they are geocaching. The trip we took wasn't geocaching related. Therefore, any geocaching we were to do, we had to figure out a way to fit it in where we're not slowing everybody down because it wasn't part of it. To do a trip like you're talking about and have geocachers with you, I mean, that's really those trips is to do them in that kind of in that nature. So anyway, go ahead and tell us what else you'd like, or give us a final word.
Right. I just want to encourage anyone that's listening to this. Sometimes what I get, people approach me and say, Josh, you're really lucky, you're fortunate. Oh, I'm really jealous. And I completely get that. But I just want to say, encourage anybody that's listening, 2 years, 3 years, when I was watching that video in 2006 of Iguazu, dreaming someday maybe I could get there, I never thought that it would happen. And so I guess my encouragement to everybody that's watching is dream big. If you have a goal, whether it's a travel goal or any goal, just be ruthlessly focused on that goal. Write it on a Post-it note and put it on your mirror. Write it on a whiteboard and just keep it in front of you, because if you dream big and if you take the steps that it takes, it's step by step, whether it's saving or whatever it may be, I think your dreams can be reality. And who knows? Maybe you could find yourself in Brazil, because I think a lot of people approach travel. Like, I could never do that. And they just poo-poo it right away. And I just want to encourage everybody, just dream big. You never know. You never know what could happen if you just make a goal, focus on it, and you too could end up in the Piranha River, finding an FTF. Too. So I never thought it would happen to me, that I would have the opportunity. And yes, I am very lucky, but I took steps to, making a video every week for 9 years. That was a lot of steps to get me to a place where I could have an opportunity like this happen. Everybody could do that. Anybody can do that if they set a goal. So,
well, incredible. Thank you so much, Joshua. It was just neat. It was so funny when you went. Of course, when you come back, it's like one of the first things I did when you got back was like, all right, when can we have you on? When can we talk about it? So,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to share, and for those of you that are listening to this, hope you enjoyed the sneak preview. You're going to get to see everything I just talked about. So I'm excited to share that in November.
Oh man, yeah, we're looking forward to that. Very, very much looking forward to that. So, all right. So real quick, next week, Electric Water Boy will be on with us, talk about puzzles. I'm labeling Tom Brotherman the puzzler. So we're going to go through and talk about some tools. Some of Electric Water Boy's. He does a thing in FTF magazine every month. Go back and read all the old stories that he's told, and go get you some old FTF magazines definitely, and go read and check out what he's been able to share over the years about puzzles. So it's gonna be fun having him on. In 2 weeks, we're gonna do a Project GC show with Super Nate, and we're gonna kind of get into some advanced stuff. So looking forward really to that. We really don't. A lot of times you don't get to see advanced type material about an app, and Project GC is one that we really want to spend a little extra time on and do kind of an advanced show. So we're looking forward to talking about. We'll talk about lots of things that night, but that's kind of the plan for that. And then in 3 weeks, we're going to kind of talk about what is the latest. 3D printing has been out now for a little while, and we're going to have Mateus on with us, and also C. Nelson's going to be on. We're going to talk about where are we at now that it's been out for a while. People have made, people have bought them, or they've seen them. How are they holding up? How are these 3D printed? What are we looking at now that it's been out for a while? What's the latest? And those two guys are going to help us really talk through and get to that. Get some of the great information about 3D printing that we may not have heard about, and because you kind of get the basics. We want to get past. That's kind of like Jesse tells all the time. That's one of the things about Geocache Talk. We talk about a lot of things, but when we get past the basics. We want to get a little further down the road on that. So, right, Jesse?
Yeah, there's lots of sources of information out there, but not everybody gets a chance to get into the really advanced stuff. So we like to fill that void a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, let's do our outro video.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight, as well as our new format. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.
Just like that. Go geocaching. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.